I'm going to talk about my husband, my best friend. And I hope that during this time, tell you the truth, can I just bare my soul to you? 2 years ago, I got up in a meeting. Mrs. Evans made me do it. She makes me do things that are good for me. You know what I mean? And confessed that I didn't really like to talk to ladies. Teenagers are I really like being with teenagers. So a lot of ladies would come up and tell me, you got a blessing out of something from last night. And I just want you to know, it really helps build my confidence that I got something to give you. I feel like I'm just such a young squirt, 40 years old. Most of you know more than I could ever dream to know. Mrs. Weaver, your husband taught me so much at college, and I'm sure you already know what he taught you. You probably taught it to him, right? No. I'm teasing about that. I know that's not true. But so I feel like, it's a little bit intimidating to me to get up and talk to you about marriage because I've only been married 16 years, and some of you have been married double that, triple maybe, and you know so much more. But I'm just going to share with you some things that I've been taught. I can't say that I'm perfect at it. I'm still working at a good marriage. I had a page from my husband and called, and he's traveling back to Knoxville. I'm sorry. He's traveling back from Knoxville to Murfreesboro. And he's going to pick me up at the airport tonight, and because we got bad news about his dad last night. So it's good to have somebody that you're close to share these things with. And I thought, they were carrying on in the truck. We got a cell phone. And they were carrying on in the truck on the way, and I thought, oh, I know they don't miss me, but then I thought, yeah, I bet they do a little bit. But you know what I'm saying? So what I hope to portray in this talk is that I feel like I did marry my best friend. And I feel sorry for people that don't have that type of relationship, and I'd like to give you some things that maybe will help you to develop that type of relationship with your husband if you're not. Now, some of you, you've been enjoying that type of relationship for more years than I could even imagine, and I'm happy for you, and I'm glad for you. Maybe you could take down some of this and share it with somebody else to help them, because let's be honest, even in our Christian churches, our marriages are in trouble. I just heard of a preacher in Michigan 2 months ago, I guess. He ran off with the church pianist. Now, I don't think that'll happen over here, right? What'd you say, Miss Beach? She said he can't run that fast anymore. You are so funny. You understand what I'm saying? And that's not anybody's fault. That's not the wife's fault. I know the wife. We did a meeting up there in September. I mean, this is a good person, but there's just trouble. There's some communication, and I'm not saying it's the wife's fault. I'm not saying I don't know whose fault it is. It's not my job to judge. All I'm saying, the marriages that are represented here, that are together right now, let's fight for them. That's why I gotta listen to all these tapes. I've got some of those tapes memorized. I'm trying to practice them, but it don't come out. Just because you put it in doesn't mean it always comes out in your actions. And all I'm doing is just trying to encourage you. So, my husband, my best friend. Number one point that I think that I've learned is that in order for me to be the best wife I can be, is I've got to take care of myself. I'm tired of martyrdom. Some of you ladies are such martyrs. You brag about how early you get up in the morning, how late you stay up at night, and then you're a witch all day long. You know what I'm saying? You just feel like it's so important for you to be able to say you've accomplished this, and this. But when you're accomplishing all those things, you are not being your best for your family. So you're cheating your family. That hurts you. I beg you, don't be the kind of person that has to prove to everybody that you can do everything. I tell people I used to be the kind that stay up late, get up early, just go. But I've learned that I just need to take care of Loretta. There's times when I just shut everything down. And I love it because I tell my kids, now, Mom needs a break. This is Mom's break time. And so I say, give me 1 hour in that back bedroom, all alone, no disturbances. And I put KW as guard over the door. Because the 5-year-old still wants to come, And so, but I do that for me because I need it for my sanity. So some of you just need to stop being such a martyr. Some of you that have little children at home, it doesn't hurt to take a break from them. Tell you the truth, when I go back from these meetings, I'm a much better mother because I'm with those kids all the time. So I go back and I'm refreshed and ready to start all over again and practice something new. So I'm a real advocate. I'm a pusher of people taking breaks, of taking good care of yourself. And let's don't be martyrs. Let's don't be martyrs. Find out how much sleep you need. You know what? You ought to know yourself. You ought to know how much rest it takes for you to be at your best, a bubbly, wonderful best. Not a best walking around, I need coffee. I'm teasing whoever said that. She's looking around. I'm a coffee drinker, so I relate to that. I don't say much to anybody till I get to the coffee pot in the morning. So do you understand what I'm saying, though? There's nothing wrong with us learning how much rest we need, what kind of nutrition. I know somebody right now that has went 3 days without eating. They sort of brag about it. I'm pretty good. I went 3 days. I can't eat. I don't want to eat. And I think, you better eat. You better make yourself eat. When you're going through hard times, you need food. That's nourishment. That's what God's plan for your life to keep you're running, all your pipes moving right, all that stuff. But anyway, so that's the very first point. Take care of yourself. How can you expect to be your best? Of course you're going to snap at your husband when he says just the wrong thing instead of be that sweet, kind person that you want to be. Of course you're going to be on edge. The thing I told you about that's happened with the hormones, I call it an edge. I feel like I'm a little edgy, Any kind of little thing sparks ignites my sparks, and I go, gets everybody. So just try to find what it is that'll fix whatever. Find what you need and get it. Whatever amount of rest. I know, Loretta, I need a vacation. I need that cruise Belinda's going on. Maybe it is. Maybe you need to pray. There's a God up in heaven. If you really do need a cruise, God provided that for Belinda Castile through Brother Hiles. He said she needs a rest from all those dorm girls, and I believe she does. I really believe, and I believe you got the same God she does. And so if you need a rest, I believe he could give it to you if you pray and ask for it. That's free. That's absolutely free. Number 2, this is part of the things I got from Brother Weaver's class, is men need attention. They need, now women need, he said that's one of the basic needs of women was attention, but I think men need attention. Now I'm going to try to act out some things with you that I have seen. And this is I was in a restaurant one time. Jane Graft and Mrs. Evans and I were in a restaurant one time. Let's pretend there's a table here. And I saw a lady sitting at a table. Now, maybe the man she wasn't even married to. Most likely, that's probably true, sad to say. But she was sitting at the table, and she had her hand propped up like this and staring at him, listening to every word he said. Now, do you think that's building? Now my problem is my husband gives me so many details. He wants to tell me all these little tiny details, and I try to interrupt him. And he's good about saying, "Don't interrupt me," and I say, "Yes, sir," because I don't catch myself with him. I'm so bad. The people that you're used to and that you love the most are the ones that you treat the worst. Isn't that the truth? You do. It's just terrible. So but he's not. I'm glad he's that way. And he says it in a nice way. He's not ugly about it. And so I just stop interrupting him. I let him finish. And I said, "I'm sorry." So, but isn't that a building? Just giving him my complete, wholehearted attention. And you say, where am I going to find time in my schedule to give my husband attention? There may be another key. Perhaps you're too busy. There might be, and I can't judge your schedule. You need to maybe counsel with one of these wonderful pastor's wives up here. Maybe one of the pastor's wives up here, their schedule's too busy to give their pastor's wife husband the kind of attention he needs. If so, if you're too busy to be able to take time to stop and look at your husband in the eye and listen to him and build him by nodding your head and being totally with him, you're too busy and you need to adjust your schedule. That is a great suggestion to give to anybody if you find that you're too busy. Then, I mentioned this a little bit in talking about one of those tape albums about the world's greatest homebreaker. I have known lots of older ladies that totally gave themselves to their family, their children, so much that the husband just sort of stood off in the background. Because, like I said, when I come home tonight, do you know who's going to want to run to me first? When I get off, the 5-year-old especially will come. But you know what? Who Kevin and I always make sure get the attention first, and he's the one that taught this to me. He always makes sure when he got off the plane last week from Minnesota, the first person he went to was me. He does that on purpose, and he's told me he does it on purpose, and he tells all 3 of the kids that he does it on purpose, because he wants to make sure that we have our relationship first before I have a relationship with those kids. So tonight when I get off the plane, I have to go to him first. I get to go to him first. I don't want to say have to, but there's a thing about that. When you serve little things, when you serve food, who do you serve first? The little, you know what I mean? I know it's easy for us to serve the children first. Because you say they don't understand, they're little. If nothing else, give them crackers before the meal. If they're going to die and scream and pass out before the prayer said. You know what I mean? But let's be the kind of people that take care of the man of the house first. Let's be ladies that you set the atmosphere of how he's honored in the home, if you have children there. But just you, do you know what? You will be, if you just do it, everybody else will follow suit, and they'll give him that kind of attention. Number 2, affection. Now, I have told you before that I didn't grow up in an affectionate home. And about 3 years ago, I'd say it was, after Spectacular, I was riding bikes with Mrs. Evans, and I'll never forget, it was over by Baptist City. I told her, I confessed to her something, that Kevin likes to hug in public. You know, nothing, not, like that, nothing like that. But he just likes, and he'll grab my hand. And I'm not a public affection. I don't like to display affection in public. It's, I feel very funny about it for different reasons. So I talked to her about it. She said, now, is there really anything wrong with him putting his arm around you in public? And I said, well, I guess there's nothing in the Bible against it. When you ask simple questions like that, it just sort of ruins your whole argument. So she said to me, I think you ought to just let him show it, and I think you ought to initiate it sometimes. Because if that's what he wants and needs, if he needs that affection from you, and he wants to show possession of you, this is my woman, caveman stuff. And there's nothing wrong with it. Now, if you're laying all over the pews, there's something wrong with that. We know that, don't we? I'm not saying don't take the extremes here. But do you understand what I'm saying? So I came home from the Spectacular. I drove home, and we had to leave right away to go to a meeting in Virginia. I'll never forget this as long as I live. We had this little broken-down Subaru station wagon. He got in the driver's seat, and I got over here. 3 kids got in the back, and I sat in the seat, and I feel so funny even telling you because it's so stupid that I did this, and I can't even, it's dumb, it's dumb that I'd feel stupid to even tell you. But anyway, I got in the car, and we used to live on a mountain up at the camp, and before we got down the camp, I got off the mountain, I took my hand, and I put it on his knee over here. And I went like that, and he went. He did. He made a face like, go away and come back again. Isn't that silly? But this is something I've had to overcome. Maybe you don't have problems with that, and that's fine. Or maybe you're the kind that just, there's no affection at all. And you say, I've heard ladies say, I'm just not the affectionate type. You know what, honey? You better learn how to be the affectionate type. Whatever that man needs, God gave you to him to meet his needs. So you better learn how to be the affectionate type. I want to please. So one time he said to I'm around him all the time, and he's coming and going all the time, and he wants to kiss me all the time. Just all the time. Can I say that again? All the time. So one day I said to him, Kevin, I'm going to read this. How many kisses a day would it take to satisfy you? He said, there's never enough. That's what Kevin said. There's never enough. And he really means it. So you know what that means? I got to have these lips ready all the time. I don't wear lipstick around him. He don't like it. That's why I put it on all the time around here, so I get to wear it some, have some color. But he don't let me wear lipstick around him because he wants kisses all the time. Now, your husband may be different. How many of you got a different husband than that? Only a few. Oh, I didn't know it. Really? All of your husbands are like that too? They want kisses all the time? And they want you to stop whatever you're doing and give them that affection. I don't care if I got soap on my hands. I'm supposed to dry my hands, stop, give him a hug and a kiss. So I'm trying to do that. Now, I don't do it all the time. I am not the best at it, but I am trying to be an affectionate person. Approval is the third point. Approval. This is praise. Oh, I can't tell you how much I love that statement you made yesterday. I can never remember, but I loved what you said. Change by praising. Was that it? Change by praising. You know what I counsel young girls before they get married? One of the things I say, Brother Howes gave 3 questions how to know you're in love. How to know you're in love. And one of those questions was, would you marry him today just as he is without changing anything? Now, you didn't marry your husband to change him. So that means that you need to be just very, very accepting of whatever his characteristics are. If he's got dirty, stinky feet, you got to love those dirty, stinky feet. If he's got bad breath, there's some people got bad stomachs, they got bad breath. You got to love that bad breath. Get him mints, lots of mints, but love that bad breath. Mrs. Evans' book, Redbirds, Rubies, and Rainbows, page number 172. I took How's Your Balance, that section, and I rewrote it for husbands and wives. I want you to listen to this. Number 1, I don't like the way he spends money, but I can forget that as I love him for his affectionate ways. Number 2, I don't like his hobbies that take him from the home and family, but I can forget that as I love him for his hard work, which makes him need the break. My husband's a hunter. In November, I don't see him very much. He's out in the woods. When my kids are grown, I probably will see him because he'll drag me out in the woods with him. I'll be sitting on a deer stand, calling deer and grunting, all this. You wait, camos and all. I mean, that's going to be me one of these days. He'll put all that paint on me, I know it's coming. He'll be teaching, and he'll want to teach me how to skin the deer. I know him. But listen to me. But I'm going to love him. If you have a husband that you are a golfer's widow, he likes to golf. Why don't you love him? Even if he needs to get away and have that break of golf, just love him and thank God that you got somebody that works so hard that they need to go away and have that break. Number 3, I don't like the way he's so scatterbrained, but I can forget that as I love him for the fun he brings our home. Number 4, I don't like his dullness, but I can forget that as I love him for being the one who sees that the tiny details of our lives are cared for. Number 5, I don't like his slow actions. You know how fast I am? My husband's he moves kind of slow. But I need a slow mover since I'm so fast. I'd make so many more mistakes if he wasn't just, he plans everything out very carefully, and I have to just adjust. And I want to adjust to him. I don't want him adjusting to me. God didn't plan it that way. And God knows I need to slow down. I'm way too fast for my own good. But anyway, I don't like his dullness, but where is it? I don't like his slow actions, but I can forget that as I love him for his gentle way with the children. What she did was she took a characteristic that most people have, like if they're a slow, methodical person, most of the time they're very gentle with the children, aren't they? Number 6, I don't like the way he puts himself down all the time, but I can forget that as I love him for his desire to please others. I don't like the way he talks incessantly. Any of you have big talkers? But I can forget that as I love him for the interest he shows in times of need. I don't like the way he makes me feel put down, but I can forget that. And some of you do have husbands that put you down. And if you'll check it out, most of the time the reason why they put you down is because you're not building them up enough. You say, but I brag on him all the time. He might need a little bit extra. You know that tape I told you, Sidney Scott, about the ego? His balloon might be really big. And he needs more air in it, which means more bragging. Every single day. You see what I'm saying? We're adjusting to our husbands. We're not expecting them to adjust to us. I don't like, but I can forget that as I love him for his provision. Most of the time, rough people that correct their wives all the time are pretty good providers. That's what she's saying there. Number 9, I don't like the way he stands around waiting for me to make the first move. But I can forget that as I love him for being there when I tell him I need him. Number 10, I don't like his bossy takeover methods, but I can forget that as I love him for helping me to do good things that I would never have done without him. Number 11, I don't like his harsh words and blunt ways, but I can forget that as I love him for his sincere determination. Number 12, I don't like his inattention to detail, but I can forget that as I love him for the friendliness he shows to all people. He meets no strangers. Number 13, I don't like his poor grooming, but I can forget that as I love him for digging in to accomplish any old task at church. Number 14, I don't like his lateness, but I can forget that as I love him for his flattery and good words. 15, I don't like his methods of discipline, and some of you, this might be one of the sore spots in your marriage. But I can forget that as I love him for caring about our children, how our children turn out. You see what she's doing? She is flipping it over. One of the other chapters in here, page 191, it's called Flipside Thinking. And what she teaches in there is the concept that when you look at embroidery, you look at the front side and it looks beautiful, doesn't it? But then you turn it over and it's utterly a mess. You wouldn't want to show it to anybody. And all she's trying to teach you in that is, instead of majoring on the fact that he's a little too harsh with the children, she just turns it over and looks at, man, at least he cares about my child and how they turn out. Some men don't get involved at all. They just sit and look at the television all the time. So you've got to choose which way you're going to look at him. You've got to choose how you're going to accept what he is and what he does. So that's very, very important. Then page 99 in this book called a chapter called Selective Amnesia. Have you ever heard of that before? And now I'm not talking about what he has selective amnesia for. I'm talking about what you should have selective amnesia. We women are awfully good at digging back on the past. Well, I remember when you bought I have my stories that I could tell. I remember when you bought that old car. It was going to be the greatest car we've ever had. He was going to fix it up, paint it up, put a new engine in and all that, and it was going to be a dream car. It was a dream wreck. It was a nightmare. But do you understand? I don't bring that up, but I could. And I've been in the presence of women that bring up old things all the time. Yeah, I remember when you got us in trouble financially, all these things. That's not being accepting of his ways, of the things about him. Whenever I lost the diamond out of my ring, and this brings a story back to my mind. I lost the diamond out of my ring. We were out with a bunch of teenagers doing something. I lost the diamond out of it, so I put one of those zircons in, glass. And so for years, that's all I had. Well, 3 years ago, we had a trailer that we sold, and I never knew what happened to the money for the trailer, but we made $1,100 off of it. Well, our anniversary came up. It was 5 years ago. It was our 11th year anniversary. He came out with this ring. He had taken the ring, and I don't even know how I got it now at this point. We were so busy at the camp, most of the time I didn't know what was going on. So he had gotten a new diamond in it. Now, I'm telling you, I am so human that as soon as he told me, he presented it to me, and he was so tickled and excited about it that he could hardly wait. We went out for breakfast that morning for our anniversary, and he gave it to me, and he was just like a little kid. Do you relate to this? But as soon as he gave it to you, do you know what I started to say? Where did you get the money? That's the first thing I thought. Isn't that nasty of me? That is so terrible. And that's my fourth point, is trust. One of the basic ingredients of a good marriage is trust. Some of you that have problems trusting him, whether he's going to go off running off with a woman, whether he's looking at a girl too long, that's not trust. And if you don't, and if you don't think you have him that tight of a hold on him, then you better get into action with some of these other things to grab hold of him. Don't nag him about how he treats other women. Don't be jealous of how he looks at other people. But just you get busy, you looking better. You get busy. And you know what? I think men are pretty accepting of our looks. I know most of, any of you out there, and you say, Loretta, you don't know what it's like because you're not heavy. And I'm not heavy. And I haven't been heavy since I was in 7th grade. But I do understand that there are times when I don't look in the mirror and say, wow, you got a good figure. I look at, and I see all the fat marks. You know what I mean? I just think, ick. How could anybody think that's a good body? And I've never been heavily endowed in this area of my life. And I think that to have a good figure, you got to look like that. Well, mine goes like she said. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know of any of us that look at our figures and say, oh, we got a good figure. I don't know that any of us think. But men are pretty accepting. And they just love you for you. And they just want you. That's why they married you. So you've got to trust him and get some wow in your life. If you think there's any chance that he's looking another direction, you better turn some charm on. Do what you did to get him, to keep him. If you're going to keep him, do what you did to get him. Wow him. I know you say, Loretta, my life is so full. I've got a house to keep clean. I've got all these dishes to wash. I've got clothes to keep clean. And I've got, those clothes are going to pass away. The dishes are going to pass away. It wouldn't hurt for you to leave your dishes in the sink some nights if it meant going to bed with your husband. And I'm not saying that in a blunt way to mean ugly. I'm saying, let's be real. Let's get our priorities right. That man is the person you said you'd love, honor, and cherish and obey all your life. You said that. Now you're going to do it? Titus 2:4 says that we are to love your husbands. Well, love is a two-way street, and it means to love them the way that they'll love you back. Like, I need to just accept that ring and not worry about how he got the diamond in it, and just trust him that he's going to do what's best for me. And if he does have a little bit of problem with money, and my husband doesn't, but if he did, You know what I'd do? As soon as he did something good with the money, I'd brag on him so he'd become better. I'd go to seminars, do whatever it was. Let's go see this man. Tom Kimmel's going out doing financial seminars. Let's go listen to him speak on finances. And really encourage, oh, you do that already. And maybe if he has done it one time, maybe he'll do it again. Keep on doing. That's how you change somebody. If you're the kind of woman that's trying to change his attitude or change his thinking on something, you're not his best friend. You know what I found when I have a lady for a friend? I don't do a lot of correcting of her attitude. Do you? When we're friends, we're soul friends. We're kindred spirits. And when we're kindred spirits, we just sort of accept each other, how we are. You know? And we don't bother trying to change each other. We just know, oh, she's that way. And we let her be that way, don't we? That's how we need to be with our husband. Number 5 is admiration. Boy, brag about his accomplishments. Let him hear you talking good about him. I mean, I think my husband can just do about anything. I've been telling everybody how he built that fireplace on the calendar. And that was the first time he'd ever done anything with stone. But anything he puts his mind to do, he can learn how to do it. And I brag and tell people about that, and I make sure he knows I'm telling him. Now, what's the last thing you bragged on your husband about? Just think about it. You know, when he does take time with the children, do you take time to brag on him about, honey, I can't believe that you're the kind of daddy that would take time to go out and have that fun with him. That's very important to his ego. That is important to him. And you know what else that is? That lets him know that you accept him and you approve and that you admire what he is. You know, those are that us have to listen to our husband preachers all the time. You know, when I'm listening to him preach, I mean, I'm sitting there going like this. He doesn't like, I do some children's services for some of the meetings, smaller churches, 4-year-old through 10-year-old, and I love doing the children's services, and my kids help, but he doesn't really like me doing it. He doesn't let me do it very often, because you know why, I think? Because he likes me sitting out there going, you know, and I'm egging him on, yeah, no, I talk out loud sometimes. I know I'm supposed to be quiet in church. But I'll say, yeah, you know, I've said it down here, I'm sure. Yeah, that's right. You know, I'll say something like that. Because I like to hear him preach. And it's important for him to know I like to hear him preach. So admiration. Part of admiration is encouragement, which is you just need to be his cheerleader. He needs to feel like you're the place he's going to come to when he's down and out. Are you a refuge to your husband? Are you somebody that helps him and he can count on to be there all the time? I certainly hope so. Because if your husband is your best friend, that will be true. A lot of times women say, but he doesn't meet my needs. There's a tape out there that says how to tell your husband what you need. You know, many, many times, I was talking to a wife just this week, and she expected her husband to read her mind. Have you ever been there? Yeah. You know, I have given up trying to get him to remember my birthday. I'm just going to tell him, hey, only 10 more days till my birthday. And because I know he's going to get me a popcorn popper or something that I don't like, I'll say, I have a list if you're interested in it. Sometimes being cute, you know, and sometimes he gets it, and sometimes he gets me a popcorn popper, which is fine, and I love it, and I love popcorn, so that's great. But do you understand what I'm saying? The more areas of acceptance you have between you and your spouse, the better your relationship will be. And where were we going? We were going on, I was finishing up with some thought. Oh, I forgot. It won't come back. It probably wasn't good, so I'm glad I lost it. But I hope that this will encourage some of you to go home and make some changes in your talk. You go home and be a cheerleader for your husband. You go home and be a soulmate. You go home and practice this attention. Practice the admiration. Practice all this. And you say, I don't know how to fit it all in. I don't either. But surely, if God gave you that man, he can help you find a way to do it. And like I said, if you feel like you're too busy, and that's what one of the main concerns of women today, when they talk to me about marriages, one of the main things they say is, I just don't feel like I have time. I always tell them, I think you're too busy. I don't do a very good job being a coordinator. Mrs. Veach, you don't have to say yes to it because you're so nice. But I know I don't. You know why? Because that's not my number one priority. I don't feel like I'm a very good secretary for my husband. It's not my number one priority. He doesn't get his thank you letters out as quickly as he'd like to, you know. But he understands. I say, okay, I can do the thank yous, but if I do that, I'm gonna have to let this go. We communicate a lot like that. But you know what? I think that if I were to get a grade from my husband, and I've asked him before, you know, I think I'm up there about a B, and I'm trying to get to the A, And maybe by 25 years, I'll be at the A. You know what I mean? Because we're still growing and learning each other. And I'm still trying to get control of my tongue and my actions. So I'm just asking you, what would your grade be? A, B, C, D, F. I hope there's not an F in this room. But if you are a D, do you think you could take just one of these suggestions and move your grade up to a C? If you are a C, do you think you could just take one of these? This has not been the type of meeting where you're supposed to go home and change your whole life. You know, you don't go home and say, okay, honey, you got a new wife. No, that won't work. You know, and I know how it is. You feel like I've apologized so many times for saying that to him. I can't say it again. Don't apologize for it. Just change. And just don't do it anymore. Whatever it is. If you're the kind that corrects your husband. You know, he's telling a joke. No, it wasn't like that, you know. That is the most degrading thing, you know, to tell a man right in front of everybody, no, you're not telling the story right. I just think that's just so funny when we do that. But it's our pride that makes us want to do that. So if you are a B, now, like I said, I'm still working at trying to get to an A. But I'm really trying to stay at that B level. And when I slip down and I'm bad, I try to get away from everything, and I talk to God, and I try to listen to more tapes, and I try to read more books, and I read the Bible more, and I want to stay close to that B as I can, because that's above average. And I just want to be the best wife, and I want to keep being a best friend to my husband. Now, how about you? Let's have a word of prayer. Father, I thank you so much for these ladies. I pray that you'll bless them. Lord, this has been simple truths, nothing big or important, but God, maybe one thing has been a challenge to them. One thing might help them. I pray that you bring that thing to mind that you're most concerned about in their lives. Maybe, Lord, you could even help them to know what's irritating their husband the most about them. And Lord, it's possible they could change that. Lord, maybe as we're praying, even these ladies are thinking about something negative that their husband does. Help them, Lord, to not think about that negative, but to turn around and say, well, he does this, but I can deal with that as long as he does such and such. Lord, please help them to learn how to do flip side thinking. Father, please help us to have better homes because of the time we've had here. And we'll give you the praise and the glory. Now,